A doorbell rings after years of silence, and the millionaire finds an abandoned child at his doorstep. She doesn't ask for money, nor does she cry. She just whispers, "Can I clean your house for a plate of food?" Something about her baffles him, those blue eyes, that familiar face. What seemed like a chance encounter turns into a revelation that will change everything he thought he knew. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us what city you're watching us from. We'll keep going. It was a cold, grey afternoon on November 17th, exactly 5 years after the tragedy that had transformed William Anderson's life into an eternal winter. Since losing his wife Beth and daughter Lily in a car accident on the icy roads of Colorado, he had isolated himself from the world, living as a recluse in his immense mansion in the outskirts of Aspen. The house, silent and cold as a mausoleum, was the guardian of memories and ghosts that he refused to face. That afternoon, as the pine trees swayed in the wind and the fog took over the garden, an unexpected sound broke the silence, the insistent ring of the doorbell. Will hesitated. Nobody had rung that doorbell in years. With slow steps, he crossed the dark hall, unlocked the door, and found himself facing a disconcerting image. On the threshold stood a thin girl, appearing to be about 7 years old. Her hair was disheveled, her skin marked by dirt, and her clothes torn from use and cold. Her lips were purple, and her feet, wrapped in broken sandals, were trembling. But what froze Will were her eyes of a deep blue, identical to those of the daughter he believed to be gone. The shape of her face, the way she tilted her head, everything about her evoked the presence of the child he had lost. With a weak voice, the girl didn't ask for money, nor did she beg for food. She simply said, "Mister, can I clean your house? Anything. I just need a plate of food." The phrase pierced Will's heart. Not knowing how to react, he instinctively backed away from the door, but the girl's gaze, a mixture of hunger and hope, broke through his armor. He invited her in. In the heated living room, she huddled near the fireplace while devouring a bowl of soup with avidity. Then, curious, she began to observe the portraits on the wall. She stopped in front of a family photo, him, his wife, and their little girl. She pointed to the image and said, "That little girl looks like me." Will, with a choked voice, confirmed. The girl then looked him in the eyes and with the same sweet intonation from other times called him Daddy. The word shattered him inside. That night he accommodated the child in a guest room. Unable to sleep, he began to search through old documents from the accident. He discovered something disturbing. His daughter's body had never been fully identified. The DNA test requested at the time had been mysteriously cancelled without his authorization. Driven by a growing suspicion, he traveled the next day to the hospital where the accident had occurred, nestled in the mountains between Aspen and Denver. There, after much insistence, he gained access to old files and found a doctor who had been on duty the night of the tragedy. Upon seeing a photo of the girl now staying in his home, the doctor turned pale. He searched through the records and made a shocking revelation. There had been an identity switch between 2 children involved in separate accidents that occurred almost simultaneously. One survived, but was mistakenly sent into the adoption system. The doctor, consumed by guilt, further revealed that an elegant man appeared days after the accident, claiming to be the family's lawyer. With falsified documents, he ordered that the child be discreetly adopted to spare the father more pain. This man was Will's former business partner, Richard Harmon, whom he had reported for corruption a year before the accident. Will connected the dots. This hadn't been a mistake, it was revenge. Rick had deprived him of his daughter as punishment and disappeared with part of the company's assets shortly after the accident. With the confession recorded, he exposed the truth to the authorities. His ex-partner was held accountable for falsification, identity concealment, and manipulation of records. Justice was served, but the wounds remained open. However, a new challenge arose within his own home. Will, now remarried to Victoria Thompson, a younger woman with an elegant and rational demeanor, revealed to her that the girl was his biological daughter. Victoria reacted with coldness and revolt. For her, that child was a painful reminder of her husband's former love and represented a threat to the inheritance and stability of their new home. "You want to bring the past back? She's just a street girl. What if she's lying? What if it's an emotional scam?" she said. Will didn't yield. Against his wife's judgment, he began to care for the girl with all possible affection. She received a new room, clean clothes, toys and meals, but above all love and patience. Shortly after, Victoria initiated legal action, alleging irregularities in the recognition of paternity. She tried to prevent the inclusion of the child in civil records and mainly legally contest her right to inheritance. For her, everything was an emotional maneuver to invalidate the prenuptial agreement and divide the assets. Thus was born a new antagonism, cold, legal and merciless. Meanwhile, the girl wandered through the house in search of answers to the confused emotions she was beginning to feel. In one of the attic closets, she found an old notebook of children's drawings with colorful figures made by small, innocent hands, drawings that she herself had created years before. The strokes awakened something deep within her. She sat on the floor, observing each page as if trying to recover fragments of a forgotten world. The emotional connection was immediate. She began to draw again. In silence, she spent hours in her room, scribbling nebulous scenes, dark roads, red lights, 2 cars approaching. The impact. A figure in a dress, an embrace, and darkness. Without knowing, she began to reconstruct her own trauma from the accident. These new drawings became an emotional proof that deeply touched her father. They not only symbolically confirmed her identity, but showed that she had, in fact, lived through that moment, and her body somehow still held those memories. Over time, trust grew. The girl began to call him Daddy spontaneously, and although she still carried emotional scars, her countenance began to change. The rigidity in her shoulders gave way to the lightness of rediscovered childhood. Will, in turn, transformed himself. He abandoned his business to dedicate himself to a new mission, rebuilding life alongside his daughter. His marriage to Victoria deteriorated rapidly, culminating in their definitive separation. He realized that no relationship could subsist at the cost of emotional silence. Months later, on a sunny spring afternoon, father and daughter ran through the mansion's garden. The girl laughed, calling him Daddy with genuine joy. He observed her with tears in his eyes, realizing that destiny, cruel and tortuous, had offered him a second chance. Will stared at the sleeping child curled up in the guest bedroom. The room, untouched for years, had once been intended for visitors who never came. Now it housed this fragile little girl, whose appearance had shattered his carefully constructed isolation. He gently pulled the blanket up to her chin and stepped back, his mind racing with possibilities too painful to fully embrace. Could it really be her? His Lily? The thought both terrified and exhilarated him. The rational part of his brain, the successful businessman who had built Anderson Enterprises from the ground up, insisted this was impossible. His daughter was gone, taken in that terrible accident on Black Mountain Pass along with his beloved Beth. Yet the resemblance was uncanny. Those unmistakable blue eyes, the slight dimple on her right cheek when she smiled, even the way she tilted her head when curious. Dawn broke over the Aspen Mountains as Will sat in his study, surrounded by stacks of old files. His hands trembled as he pulled out the accident report he'd avoided looking at for 5 years. The thick folder held police statements, hospital records, and insurance claims, the clinical documentation of the worst day of his life. The section labeled Identification and Remains caught his eye. It contained minimal information, simply stating that visual identification had been made. The DNA verification he'd requested was noted as cancelled per family attorney. "I never cancelled anything," Will whispered to the empty room. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number he hadn't used in years. "Mason, it's Will Anderson. I need your help. It's about Lily." Mason Thompson had been Will's head of security before the accident. After Will withdrew from society, Mason had continued to run Anderson Enterprises' security division, respecting his former boss's desire for solitude, but always remaining available should Will ever need him. "I'll be there in an hour," was Mason's only response. True to his word, Mason's Range Rover pulled up to the mansion precisely 60 minutes later. The security expert's weathered face betrayed no emotion as Will explained the situation, but his eyes widened slightly when the little girl wandered into the kitchen, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Good morning," she said shyly, looking between the two men. "This is my friend Mason," Will said gently. "Would you like some breakfast?" She nodded, climbing onto a stool at the kitchen island, as Will prepared pancakes, remembering with a pang that they had been Lily's favorite. Mason observed the child with a professional's eye. "What's your name?" Mason asked, his voice gentler than his appearance suggested. "Emma," she replied, looking down at her hands. "But I don't think that's my real name. The people at the home gave it to me." "What people? What home?" Will asked, nearly dropping the spatula. "Different homes. I don't remember all of them," she said with a child's matter-of-fact acceptance of a difficult life. "The last one was Mrs. Winters, but she got sick and couldn't keep any of us anymore." "How did you end up here at this house?" Mason asked. Emma's face scrunched in concentration. "I saw it in my dreams. A big house with pine trees and—" She hesitated, looking at Will. "A man with sad eyes who needed me." The pancakes were forgotten as Will struggled to maintain his composure. Mason smoothly took over breakfast duties while Will excused himself to the hallway, pressing his forehead against the cool wall, fighting for control. When he returned, Emma was happily devouring maple-soaked pancakes. Mason gave Will a meaningful look. "I'll need something from her, a hair sample maybe, and something of Lily's for comparison," Mason said quietly. "I know someone who can run the tests discreetly." The brush, Will suddenly remembered. "Beth never let me clear out their things. Everything's still there, preserved exactly as it was." After breakfast, Will led Emma to a room that had remained locked for 5 years. With a deep breath, he turned the key and pushed open the door to Lily's bedroom. The space was frozen in time, a 7-year-old sanctuary with stuffed animals arranged on the bed, books on the shelves, and colorful drawings pinned to a corkboard. Emma stood in the doorway, her eyes wide. Slowly, as if in a trance, she walked to the dresser and picked up a small silver hairbrush. Her fingers traced the ornate L engraved on its back. "This was mine," she whispered, not as a question, but as a statement of fact. Will couldn't speak. Mason, standing behind them, quietly collected what he needed before respectfully stepping out. Left alone with Emma, Will watched as she moved through the room with increasing familiarity. She paused at the bookshelf, pulling out a worn copy of The Secret Garden. "The little girl gets lost and then finds her way home," Emma said, running her hand over the cover. "You used to read this to me every night." Will knelt beside her, hardly daring to hope. "Do you remember anything else?" Emma closed her eyes. "Songs. You sang songs when it was storming, because I was afraid of the thunder." Her eyes flew open. "You called me Lilypad when no one else was around." The nickname, Beth's special name for their daughter, one that even Victoria didn't know, broke something inside Will. With trembling hands, he opened the book. On the inside cover, in Beth's elegant handwriting, was an inscription: "To our dearest Lilypad, may you always find your way home. Love, Mommy and Daddy." Emma's small fingers traced the words. Mommy wrote this before she went to heaven. Will gathered her into his arms, finally allowing his tears to fall. "Yes," he whispered. "Yes, she did." Hours later, as Emma napped in what was once, and perhaps still was, her room, Will and Mason sat in the study reviewing what they knew. "The adoption records are sealed," Mason said, "but my contact at social services owes me a favor." Emma was placed in emergency foster care 5 years ago after being found near the accident site. She had no identification, was severely traumatized, and couldn't communicate who she was. The attending physician listed her as Jane Doe until she could be identified. "But why wasn't she?" Will demanded. "I was at the hospital. I was looking for my family." According to the notes, a man identifying himself as Richard Harmon, attorney for the Anderson family, informed staff that all family members had been accounted for. He specifically stated that this child was not related to you and authorized her placement in the system. Will's face darkened. "Rick, my former business partner. The same man you reported to the SEC for embezzlement just months before the accident?" "Yes. He disappeared afterward. I assumed he fled to avoid prosecution." Will's voice turned cold. "Now I understand why he vanished. This wasn't just about money, it was calculated revenge. He took my daughter from me." "We'll need more than suspicions," Mason cautioned. "The DNA results will be ready tomorrow. In the meantime, I suggest you prepare for Victoria's return." Will had almost forgotten. His current wife was due back from her New York shopping trip that evening. Victoria Thompson Anderson had married Will 3 years after the accident, when he was still numb with grief. Sophisticated, beautiful, and 20 years his junior, Victoria had been drawn to Will's fortune and status. while he had welcomed the distraction she provided. Their relationship, built on mutual convenience rather than deep love, had functioned well enough until now. But Will knew Victoria would see Emma as a threat to the comfortable life she'd created. The prenuptial agreement she'd signed protected her only if their marriage lasted at least 5 years. They were currently just past year 2, or if Will died without heirs. The sudden appearance of a legitimate child would change everything. As if summoned by his thoughts, the sound of the front door opening echoed through the house, followed by Victoria's melodic call. "Will, darling, I'm home." Mason gave Will a sympathetic look. "I'll be in touch tomorrow with the results." Will nodded, steeling himself for the confrontation to come. In the guest room upstairs, Emma stirred in her sleep, murmuring something that sounded like, "Daddy." In that moment, Will made his decision. Whatever the cost, whatever the consequences, he would fight for his daughter. He would not lose her again. Victoria's entrance was as dramatic as everything else about her. She swept into the foyer in a cloud of designer perfume, her platinum blonde hair perfectly styled despite the 5-hour flight from New York. At 35, she maintained the sleek figure of a former model through rigorous diet and exercise, and her surgically enhanced features gave her an ageless quality that turned heads wherever she went. "Will, darling," she called again, dropping her Hermes handbag onto an antique console table. "The shops in Manhattan were divine. I found the most exquisite—" She stopped abruptly as Will appeared at the top of the staircase, his expression grave. "What's wrong? You look terrible." Will descended slowly, searching for words. "Victoria, something unexpected has happened." Her perfectly sculpted eyebrows lifted. "Tax audit, legal trouble, whatever it is, Harrison can handle it." Harrison Palmer was their attorney, a man whose primary job seemed to be keeping Victoria's spending from completely depleting Will's fortune. "It's not that." Will took a deep breath. "There's someone I need you to meet." As if on cue, Emma appeared behind him, rubbing her eyes sleepily. She had changed into clean clothes Will had found in Lily's room, a simple blue dress that brought out the color of her eyes. Victoria froze, her gaze darting between the child and her husband. "Who is this?" Her voice had lost its melodic quality, turning sharp. "This is Emma," Will said, placing a protective hand on the girl's shoulder. "But I have reason to believe she's actually Lily." Victoria's laugh was brittle. "Lily? Your daughter Lily? Will, darling, you're not making sense. Your daughter is gone. This is some street urchin." Emma shrank back at Victoria's harsh tone, moving closer to Will. "She found her way here," Will explained, trying to keep his voice calm for Emma's sake. "And there are things she knows, things only Lily would know." Victoria's eyes narrowed. "So a clever homeless child did some research and is playing on your grief. Really, Will, I thought you were smarter than this." "It's not like that," Will insisted. "Mason is having DNA tests done. We'll know tomorrow." "Mason? You involved Mason in this farce?" Victoria's voice rose. "And what exactly do you plan to do with her in the meantime?" "She's staying here," Will said firmly. "In her room." Victoria's face flushed with anger. "Her room? You mean the shrine to your dead daughter that you've kept locked for 5 years? The room you wouldn't even let me redecorate?" Emma tugged at Will's hand. "I can go," she whispered. "I don't want to make anyone angry." Will knelt down to her level. "You're not going anywhere, sweetheart. This is your home." He turned back to Victoria. "We can discuss this later, in private." Victoria's lips pressed into a thin line, but she gave a curt nod. "Fine. I'll be in the master suite. I need a shower after that dreadful flight anyway." She strode past them, heels clicking sharply on the marble floor, but not before giving Emma a look that sent chills down the child's spine. Later that evening, after settling Emma in bed with a stack of books that had once belonged to Lily, Will joined Victoria in their bedroom. She was seated at her vanity, methodically removing her makeup. "This is insanity," she said without preamble. "You're setting yourself up for heartbreak all over again." "What if it's really her?" Will countered. "What if my daughter has been alive all this time, bounced around the foster system because of some terrible mistake? Or deliberate action," Victoria murmured. Will stared at her. "What did you say?" Victoria turned to face him. "If, and it's an enormous if, this child is actually Lily, then someone deliberately separated her from you. Have you considered what that means? Who would do such a thing? And why?" "Rick Harmon," Will said grimly. "My former business partner. The one I turned in for embezzling company funds. The timing fits, Victoria conceded. But why go to such elaborate lengths? Why not just eliminate you both? Will flinched at her cold calculation. Maybe he thought this was worse, letting me believe my child was gone forever while she grew up without me. Victoria studied her husband. And if the tests confirm she's Lily, what then? Then she comes home for good. And us, what about our life together? Will met her gaze steadily. Nothing has to change, Victoria. There's room in this house and in my life for both of you. Victoria laughed, a sound devoid of humor. You can't possibly be that naive. Everything will change. That child will inherit everything. Your name, your fortune. The fortune I've spent 2 years helping you rebuild. Is that what this is about, money? Don't be ridiculous, Victoria snapped. It's about us, the life we've built. I didn't sign up to be a mother to some damaged 7-year-old. She's my daughter, Will said quietly. She might be, Victoria corrected. And even if she is biologically yours, she's not the same child you lost. 5 years in foster care changes a person, Will. She'll have issues, trauma. Are you prepared for that? Will's expression hardened. If she's mine, I'll deal with whatever comes. I owe her that. Victoria turned back to her vanity. We'll see what the tests say, but don't expect me to play mommy if they're positive. The next morning, Mason arrived early, his expression carefully neutral as he handed Will a sealed envelope. The results? Will asked, his heart racing. Mason nodded. And something else. I did some digging into Richard Harmon's whereabouts after he disappeared. He's been living under an alias in Argentina, but here's where it gets interesting. He returned to the US 6 months ago. Will's eyes widened. He's back? Why? That's what I intend to find out, Mason said grimly. In the meantime, you might want to read those results in private. Will took the envelope to his study, closing the door behind him. With trembling fingers, he broke the seal and pulled out the single sheet of paper inside. His eyes scanned the technical language until they reached the conclusion. 99.97% probability of paternity. Emma was Lily. His daughter was alive. Tears blurred his vision as emotions crashed over him. Joy, relief, rage at the years stolen from them, fear of what came next. He took several deep breaths, composing himself before seeking out Emma. He found her in the garden, crouched beside a rose bush that had been Beth's pride and joy. She looked up as he approached, her expression serious beyond her years. These were Mommy's favorites, she said. The yellow ones. She said they were as bright as the sun. Will knelt beside her, ignoring the morning dew soaking through his trousers. You remember that? Emma nodded slowly. I remember more things now. Being here helps. Will gently took her small hands in his. Emma, there's something important I need to tell you. The test results came back. He paused, emotions threatening to overwhelm him again. You are my daughter. You're Lily Anderson. Emma's face remained solemn, but her eyes brightened. I knew it, she whispered. In my heart, I always knew it. We have a lot to figure out, Will continued. Legal things to make it official, but this is your home now, Lily, for good. Can I still be Emma sometimes? She asked hesitantly. I've been Emma for so long. Will smiled through his tears. You can be whoever you want to be, sweetheart. Emma, Lily, you're my daughter, and that's all that matters. From an upstairs window, Victoria watched the scene unfold in the garden below. Her face was expressionless, but her hands gripped the curtains so tightly her knuckles had turned white. She reached for her phone and dialed a number. Harrison, it's Victoria Anderson. I need your advice on something urgent. It's about Will's daughter. Yes, you heard correctly. It seems Lily Anderson is very much alive. As father and daughter embraced in the garden below, Victoria's eyes narrowed with calculation. The game had changed, and she had no intention of losing. One way or another, she would protect what was hers. Harrison Palmer's office occupied the top floor of Aspen's most prestigious address, offering panoramic views of the mountains that attracted the wealthy to this exclusive enclave. Victoria sat across from him, impeccably dressed in a cream Chanel suit, her composure betraying none of the turmoil she felt inside. Let me understand this correctly, Harrison said, leaning back in his leather chair. Will believes this child is his daughter, Lily, who supposedly perished in the same accident that took his first wife's life. DNA confirms it, Victoria replied tersely. 97% probability. Mason verified it himself. Harrison raised an eyebrow. And you're concerned about everything, Victoria snapped. The prenuptial agreement, my standing, the inheritance. You know the terms as well as I do, Harrison. I'm only protected if our marriage lasts 5 years or if Will dies without heirs. Actually, Harrison corrected, shuffling through a file, the language specifies without living heirs. A small but crucial distinction, given the circumstances. Victoria's perfectly manicured nails tapped against the armrest. So where does this leave me? If Will decides to divorce me for whatever reason, I walk away with practically nothing. And now he has an heir. Harrison studied her thoughtfully. The child's reappearance does complicate matters. However, there may be legal grounds to contest the paternity claim, despite the DNA results. The chain of custody could be questioned, procedures scrutinized. That's not enough, Victoria said dismissively. Will is completely besotted with this girl. You should see them together. It's nauseating. He'd fight any challenge with everything he has. Then perhaps we should focus on the circumstances of her disappearance and reappearance, Harrison suggested. If someone deliberately separated this child from Will, this former business partner you mentioned, then there are criminal implications. The investigation would be lengthy, messy. During that time, the child's status would remain uncertain. Victoria's eyes narrowed. And uncertain status means uncertain inheritance rights. Precisely. Harrison leaned forward. But more importantly, it gives you time. Time to secure your position, renegotiate your arrangement with Will, perhaps even ingratiate yourself with the child. Play stepmother. Victoria couldn't hide her distaste. That's not what I signed up for. Perhaps not, Harrison agreed. But adaptation is the cornerstone of survival, Victoria, and you've always been a survivor. Meanwhile, across town at Mountain Ridge Hospital, Will and Mason were meeting with Dr. Benjamin Carter, the physician who had been on duty the night of the accident 5 years ago. Now approaching retirement, Dr. Carter's hands trembled slightly as he reviewed the old files. I remember that night clearly, he said, his voice heavy with regret. 2 separate accidents within minutes of each other. A multi-car pileup on Black Mountain Pass and a single vehicle accident near Maroon Creek Bridge. Total chaos in the ER. My wife, Beth, was pronounced dead at the scene, Will said quietly. But Lily, my daughter, was brought here. Dr. Carter nodded solemnly. She was in critical condition, severe trauma, unresponsive. We stabilized her and transferred her to pediatric intensive care. Then, with so many victims coming in, we had to rely on identification from family members or representatives. He paused, frowning. That's where things get murky. How so? Mason pressed. According to these notes, a man identifying himself as your attorney indicated that the child in pediatric ICU was not Lily Anderson. He claimed she was from the second accident, a Jane Doe with no relation to your family. Dr. Carter removed his glasses, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Given the chaos, the multiple victims, and the man's credentials, no one questioned it. We were simply trying to keep people alive. This man, Will said, placing a photograph on the desk. Is this him? Dr. Carter studied the image of Richard Harmon, handsome, impeccably dressed, with cold eyes that seemed to follow you. Yes, that's him. He had proper identification, legal documents. Everything appeared in order. He was my business partner, not my attorney, Will explained grimly. A man I'd reported for financial crimes just months earlier. Dr. Carter paled. My God, if I had known. You couldn't have, Will assured him. But I need you to go on record with this information. My daughter spent 5 years in foster care because of this man's actions. He needs to be held accountable. As they left the hospital with Dr. Carter's signed affidavit, Mason's phone buzzed with a message. His expression darkened as he read it. What is it? Will asked. My contact in federal law enforcement, Mason replied. They've located Richard Harmon. He's in Denver, staying at the Ritz-Carlton under the name Robert Hayes. They're putting him under surveillance, but they can't move on him without more evidence. Will's jaw tightened. Then let's get them what they need. Back at the Anderson mansion, Emma, now acknowledged as Lily, was exploring her rediscovered home under the watchful eye of Mrs. Garrett, the housekeeper who had been with the family since before Lily was born. The older woman wiped away tears as she watched the child examine familiar objects, with growing recognition. "You used to hide my cookies in here," Lily said, pointing to a ceramic jar shaped like an owl. "Because Daddy said too many sweets would spoil my dinner." Mrs. Garrett laughed softly. "That's right, sweet girl. And you always found them anyway." Lily moved to the large windows overlooking the mountains. "I remember the snow. Daddy built me a snowman right there." Her expression clouded. "And then we had to go on a trip. Mommy was driving." Mrs. Garrett quickly diverted her attention. "Would you like to see the pictures from your 5th birthday party? I kept an album." Lily nodded eagerly, the shadow passing from her face. As Mrs. Garrett retrieved the photo album, the front door opened and Victoria strode in, her expression carefully neutral when she spotted Lily. "Hello, Emma," she said, deliberately using the name the child had grown up with. "My name is Lily," the child corrected quietly. "Lily Anderson." Victoria's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Of course. How forgetful of me. Where's your father?" "Mr. Anderson is at the hospital," Mrs. Garrett informed her coolly. The housekeeper had never warmed to Victoria, viewing her as an interloper in the household she had served loyally for decades. "I see." Victoria set down her handbag. "Well, since we're alone, perhaps Lily and I should get to know each other better. After all, we're going to be family now." Mrs. Garrett shot Victoria a suspicious look. "Mr. Anderson asked me to stay with Miss Lily until he returns." "I'm sure he didn't mean to exclude his wife," Victoria countered smoothly. "Why don't you take a break, Mrs. Garrett? I can handle things from here." The housekeeper hesitated, looking to Lily, who gave a small nod. "It's okay, Mrs. Garrett. I remember Victoria. She came after I was gone." Mrs. Garrett reluctantly withdrew, leaving Lily alone with her stepmother. Victoria sat on the sofa, patting the space beside her. After a moment's hesitation, Lily joined her, keeping a careful distance between them. "So," Victoria began, "you've caused quite a stir in our household." "I'm sorry," Lily said automatically, a response conditioned by years in foster care, where apologies were often expected for simply existing. Victoria studied her. "You don't need to apologize. I imagine none of this has been easy for you." Her tone softened slightly. "Do you remember anything about what happened, about how you ended up separated from your father?" Lily's brow furrowed. "I remember the car, the lights coming at us, Mommy screaming." She wrapped her arms around herself. "Then everything went dark. When I woke up, I was in a hospital, and they told me my name was Emma, that no one was coming for me." "And you accepted that? For 5 years?" Lily shrugged. "I was little, and my head hurt a lot. Sometimes I would remember things, but they said I was making up stories." Her blue eyes, so like Will's, met Victoria's. "But I always knew something wasn't right. I always felt like I was supposed to be somewhere else." Despite herself, Victoria felt a twinge of sympathy. "And now you're here." Lily nodded. "Now I'm home," she hesitated before adding, "You don't like me very much, do you?" The blunt question caught Victoria off guard. "I hardly know you," she replied carefully. "But you don't want me here," Lily persisted with a child's directness. "You look at me like Mrs. Winters used to look at the vegetables she didn't want to eat." A surprised laugh escaped Victoria. "That's quite an observation." "It's okay," Lily said with a shrug. "Most people don't want me." The simple statement, delivered without self-pity, struck Victoria unexpectedly. Before she could respond, the sound of the front door opening announced Will's return. Lily immediately brightened, sliding off the sofa and running to greet her father. Victoria watched as Will scooped his daughter into his arms, his face transformed with joy. She felt a strange hollowness inside, recognizing something she had never seen directed at her. Pure, unconditional love. Harrison's advice echoed in her mind. Adaptation is the cornerstone of survival. Perhaps it was time to change tactics. If she couldn't remove Lily from the equation, maybe she could find a way to turn the situation to her advantage. As Will approached with Lily in his arms, Victoria rose gracefully from the sofa. "Welcome home, darling," she said, offering him a warm smile. "Lily and I were just getting acquainted." Will's surprised expression was worth the effort of her performance. Let him think she was coming around. After all, Victoria had always played the long game. And in this game, the stakes had never been higher. The Denver Ritz-Carlton exuded old-world luxury, its lobby a symphony of marble and crystal that catered to those accustomed to the finest things in life. Mason Thompson moved through this rarefied space with practiced ease, his tailored suit and confident bearing allowing him to blend seamlessly with the wealthy clientele. He spotted his target at the bar, Richard Harmon, now calling himself Robert Hayes, nursing a scotch while checking his Rolex. At 55, Harmon still cut an impressive figure. His silver-streaked hair was expertly styled, his custom suit highlighting his athletic build. To casual observers, he appeared to be just another successful businessman unwinding after a productive day. Only Mason knew the darkness that lurked beneath that polished exterior. "Bourbon neat," Mason ordered, taking the seat beside Harmon. He waited until the bartender served his drink before speaking again. "It's been a long time, Rick." Harmon froze, his glass halfway to his lips. Slowly he turned, his expression shifting from shock to a calculated smile. "Mason Thompson, this is unexpected." "Is it?" Mason took a measured sip of his bourbon. "You returned to the States after 5 years in Argentina, set yourself up in Denver, just a short drive from Aspen. Did you really think no one would notice?" "I wasn't hiding," Harmon replied smoothly. "Business opportunities brought me back. Nothing sinister about that." "Business opportunities," Mason repeated. "Like kidnapping a child and falsifying hospital records, that kind of business?" The color drained from Harmon's face, but he maintained his composure. "I don't know what you're talking about." Mason placed his phone on the bar, screen up, displaying a photo of Lily. "She found her way home, Rick. Despite everything you did, Will's daughter returned to him." Harmon's fingers tightened around his glass. "That's impossible. DNA doesn't lie. 99.97% match." Mason leaned closer. "Dr. Carter remembers you, by the way. Identified you from a photograph, signed an affidavit detailing how you posed as Will's attorney and redirected his injured daughter into the foster care system." "You can't prove any of that," Harmon hissed, but uncertainty flickered in his eyes. "For the FBI is very interested in your activities," Mason continued conversationally. "Identity fraud, kidnapping, conspiracy, not to mention the embezzlement charges that have been waiting for you since you fled the country. You're looking at decades in federal prison." Harmon drained his scotch, signaling the bartender for another. "What do you want, Thompson?" "Will wants to meet. Tomorrow. Neutral ground." A bitter laugh escaped Harmon. "So he can what? Have me arrested on the spot?" "If that was the plan, you'd already be in custody," Mason pointed out. "Will wants answers more than revenge. Against my advice, I might add." Harmon considered this, drumming his fingers against the bar. "Fine, where and when?" "Lakeside Park. Noon. Come alone." Mason stood, leaving his bourbon largely untouched. "And Rick, don't even think about running again. My team has eyes on you 24/7. As Mason walked away, Harmon pulled out his phone, hesitated, then put it away. Whatever calls he needed to make, he clearly didn't want them monitored. Mason smiled grimly as he exited the hotel. Phase 1 complete. Back in Aspen, an uneasy truce had settled over the Anderson household. Victoria, executing her new strategy, had suggested a shopping expedition to outfit Lily with a proper wardrobe. To Will's surprise, she had been patient and even kind during the outing, helping Lily select age-appropriate clothes that suited her preferences, rather than imposing Victoria's sophisticated taste. Now, as they ate dinner together, Victoria engaged Lily in conversation about her day, her interests, her memories. Will watched the interaction with cautious optimism, wondering if his wife was finally accepting the situation. "I thought we might visit the stables tomorrow," Victoria suggested as they finished dessert. Lily mentioned she remembers riding lessons, and Monarch Valley has an excellent children's program. Will's expression clouded. "Actually, I have something important scheduled tomorrow, in Denver." Victoria's smile remained fixed. "Oh? Business on a Saturday?" "Something like that." Will avoided her gaze. "I was hoping you might spend the day with Lily, continue getting to know each other." "Of course," Victoria agreed readily. "We could make it a girls' day. Shopping, lunch, perhaps a movie." Lily looked between them, sensing the underlying tension. "Is everything okay, Daddy?" Will reached across the table to squeeze her hand. "Everything's fine, sweetheart. I just need to take care of some unfinished business. I'll be back before dinner." Later, after Lily had gone to bed, Victoria confronted Will in their bedroom. "Denver, she questioned, removing her earrings at her vanity. Would this unfinished business happen to involve Richard Harmon? Will paused in the act of unbuttoning his shirt. How did you know? Harrison mentioned he's back in the country. Victoria turned to face him. Will, is it wise to confront him directly, after what he did? Mason will be with me, Will assured her, and we're meeting in a public place. I just need to understand why he did it, Victoria, why he took my daughter from me. And if he denies everything, if he threatens you, then we have enough evidence to put him away for a very long time. Will's expression hardened. He won't get away with this. Victoria rose from her vanity, crossing to where Will stood. She laid a hand on his chest, her voice softening. Just be careful. Whatever history you have with this man, he's already proven he's capable of unimaginable cruelty. I don't want Lily to lose her father a second time. Will studied his wife's face, surprised by her apparent concern. You're really trying, aren't you? With Lily? She's your daughter, Victoria said simply. And despite what you might think, I'm not a monster, Will. I can see how much you love her, how much you need her. She hesitated. And she's not so bad, really. Quite clever, actually. Will pulled her into an embrace, kissing the top of her head. Thank you. This means more to me than you know. Victoria returned his embrace, her expression hidden against his chest. The conflicting emotions that crossed her face remained her secret alone. The next morning, as Will prepared to leave for Denver, Lily clung to him at the door. Do you promise you'll come back? She asked, her voice small. Will knelt to her level. I promise, Lilypad. Nothing could keep me away from you. Is it about the bad man, the one who took me away? Will stared at her in surprise. How did you know about that? Lily looked down. I heard you and Mason talking, and I remember him a little. He came to the hospital. He told me you didn't want me anymore, that you were glad I was gone. Will felt rage boil up inside him. With effort, he controlled his voice. That was a terrible lie, sweetheart. I never stopped wanting you, never stopped looking for you. I just didn't know where to look. Lily nodded solemnly. I know that now. But I believed him then. That's why I stopped trying to tell people who I really was. Her blue eyes, so like his own, met his gaze. Are you going to punish him? Justice will be served, Will assured her, but that's for grown-ups to worry about. You just have fun with Victoria today, okay? After another tight hug, Will departed, leaving Lily standing in the doorway with Victoria. The girl looked up at her stepmother. He's going to be okay, right? Victoria took Lily's hand, surprised by her own desire to comfort the child. Your father is one of the strongest men I know. He'll be fine. She smiled. Now, how about those riding lessons? As they drove to the stables, Victoria's phone buzzed with a text from Harrison. Package delivered, location secured. She deleted the message immediately, her mind racing. Everything was proceeding according to plan, but an unexpected complication had arisen. She was beginning to care about Lily. The child's direct manner, her resilience despite everything she'd endured, had awakened something in Victoria she thought long buried. Compassion. But compassion was a luxury she couldn't afford. Not when so much was at stake. At Lakeside Park in Denver, Will and Mason arrived early, securing a bench with clear sight lines in all directions. Mason's team, disguised as joggers and dog walkers, maintained a discreet perimeter. Remember, Mason cautioned, this is just information gathering. Let him talk, let him incriminate himself. The recording will be admissible if we handle this right. Will nodded, his gaze fixed on the park entrance. At precisely noon, Richard Harmon appeared, walking leisurely as if he hadn't a care in the world. Will's hands curled into fists at the sight of the man who had stolen 5 years of his daughter's life. Easy, Mason murmured. Let him come to us. Harmon spotted them and approached, his smile razor-sharp. Will Anderson, you're looking well for a man who was devastated by tragedy. Cut the pleasantries, Rick, Will replied coldly. You know why we're here. Harmon took a seat opposite them, crossing his legs casually. Enlighten me. My daughter, Will said, his voice tight with controlled rage. You deliberately separated me from my child, made me believe she was gone when she was alive, condemned her to years in foster care. I want to know why. Quite an accusation, Harmon observed. Do you have any proof of these outlandish claims? Mason slid a folder across the table, DNA results, hospital records, Dr. Carter's sworn statement identifying you as the man who falsified Lily's status, security footage from the hospital showing you entering and leaving that night. He smiled thinly. Shall I continue? Harmon's confidence faltered as he reviewed the documents. This proves nothing. It proves everything, Will countered. The question isn't whether you did it, Rick. It's why. What could possibly drive a man to such cruelty? Harmon's facade finally cracked. You destroyed me, Will. Your self-righteous crusade against my financial improprieties cost me everything. My reputation, my career, my family. My wife left me, took the kids. I lost my home, my dignity. You were stealing from our company, Will said incredulously. From our employees' pension fund. What did you expect me to do? I expected loyalty, Harmon spat. After everything we built together, you could have handled it privately. Instead, you went to the feds, made a public spectacle of it. You chose your precious integrity over our friendship. So you took my daughter, Will concluded, bile rising in his throat, to punish me. Harmon's smile returned, cold and satisfied. I knew losing Beth would devastate you, but losing Lily too, that would destroy you completely. And it did, didn't it? The great Will Anderson, reduced to a recluse, hiding from the world in his mansion. Will lunged across the table, but Mason restrained him. He's not worth it, Mason hissed. We've got what we need. Have you? Harmon taunted. You have my confession, congratulations. But have you considered the bigger picture? Who helped me orchestrate this elaborate plan? Who stood to benefit most from your complete isolation from the world? Will froze. What are you talking about? Harmon leaned forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Did you really think I acted alone? That I had the medical connections, the legal expertise to pull this off? I had help, Will, from someone very close to you, someone who saw an opportunity and took it. Before Will could respond, the sharp crack of a gunshot split the air. Harmon jerked backward, a red stain blossoming on his chest. Chaos erupted in the park as people screamed and scattered. Mason tackled Will to the ground as his security team converged on their position. Sniper! Mason shouted into his comm. East side, tall building, find them! But Will's focus remained on Harmon, who lay motionless on the ground, his secrets silenced forever. As paramedics rushed to the scene, one thought consumed Will's mind. Who else had wanted Lily gone, and what would they do now that she had returned? The Monarch Valley stables, nestled in a picturesque valley 20 minutes outside Aspen, its white fences and red barns creating a postcard-perfect scene against the backdrop of snow-capped mountains. Victoria guided her Mercedes along the winding driveway, glancing occasionally at Lily in the passenger seat. The child had been quiet for most of the journey, her small face pressed against the window as she watched the landscape roll by. Have you ever been on a horse before? Victoria asked, breaking the silence. Lily turned to her, hesitation in her blue eyes. I think so. In my dreams, I remember riding a white pony. His name was Snowflake. Victoria felt an odd pang at the girl's words. Will had mentioned Snowflake once, a gentle Shetland pony he'd bought for Lily's 5th birthday. Another fragment of memory that confirmed her identity. Well, they have very gentle horses here, Victoria said, pulling into a parking space, perfect for beginners or those who need a refresher. As they walked toward the main building, Lily slipped her small hand into Victoria's, a gesture so natural and trusting that it caught Victoria off guard. She looked down at their joined hands, surprised by how right it felt. Thank you for bringing me here, Lily said softly. The other places, the foster homes, they never had money for things like this. Victoria swallowed past a sudden tightness in her throat. Well, you don't have to worry about that anymore. Your father can afford to give you anything you want. Lily looked up at her, those disconcertingly perceptive eyes seeing too much. He doesn't need to give me things, he just needs to be my daddy. Before Victoria could respond to this simple wisdom, her phone buzzed. She checked the screen, a news alert about a shooting in Denver. Her blood ran cold as she read the details. A man critically injured in Lakeside Park, the exact location of Will's meeting with Harmon. Victoria! Lily tugged at her hand. Are you okay? You look scared. Victoria quickly locked her phone screen. Everything's fine, sweetheart, just a work email. She forced a smile. Let's go meet some horses, shall we? While Lily was fitted for a riding helmet and introduced to a gentle bay mare named Buttercup, Victoria stepped away to make a frantic call. "Harrison, have you seen the news?" she hissed into the phone. "There was a shooting in Denver, at the park, where Will was meeting Harmon." "I've heard," Harrison replied, his voice maddeningly calm. "Initial reports suggest Harmon was the only one injured. Your husband is fine." This wasn't part of the plan. Victoria paced the stable corridor, keeping one eye on Lily, who was now being led around a small ring on Buttercup. "You said we'd discredit Harmon, maybe arrange for some evidence against him to disappear, not this." "I had nothing to do with this development," Harrison said coolly, "though it does simplify matters. Dead men tell no tales, as they say." "This is insane," Victoria whispered. "If Will suspects—" "Why would he suspect you?" Harrison interrupted. "You've been with the child all day, establishing a touching bond. Perfect alibi." Victoria watched as Lily's face lit up with joy when the instructor allowed her to trot for the first time. The child's laughter echoed through the stable, bright and genuine. "I need to go," Victoria said abruptly. "Keep me informed." She ended the call and rejoined Lily at the riding ring, forcing herself to appear calm and engaged. But her mind raced with implications and contingencies. Who had shot Harmon? Was it connected to Harrison's arrangements? And most troublingly, what had Harmon told Will before the shooting? An hour later, as they were having lunch in the stable's quaint cafe, Victoria's phone rang. Will's name flashed on the screen. "It's your father," she told Lily, trying to keep her voice steady. She answered with forced cheerfulness. "Will, darling, how was your meeting?" "Victoria." His voice was tight, controlled. "Where are you and Lily right now?" "At Monarch Valley Stables. Lily's having quite the adventure on a sweet mare named Buttercup." She paused. "Will, what's wrong? You sound strange." "There was an incident in Denver." Will's words were measured. "I need you both to come home immediately. Mason will meet you at the stables and escort you back. Don't stop anywhere, don't talk to anyone, just come straight home." "Will, you're scaring me," Victoria said, and she didn't have to feign the tremor in her voice. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine. I'll explain everything when you get here. Just keep Lily close, okay?" The call ended, leaving Victoria staring at her phone in confusion and growing dread. She looked up to find Lily watching her, concern etched on her young face. "Daddy's in trouble, isn't he?" she asked quietly. Victoria reached across the table to take Lily's hand. "Your father's fine, but something's happened, and he wants us to go home now." Lily nodded solemnly. "The bad man did something, didn't he?" Victoria felt a chill at the child's intuition. "I don't know, sweetie, but Mason is coming to take us home and then we'll find out." True to Will's word, Mason arrived within 20 minutes, his face grim as he ushered them to an armored SUV rather than Victoria's Mercedes. "What's going on, Mason?" Victoria demanded as he secured Lily in the back seat. Mason's expression revealed nothing. "Mr. Anderson will explain everything. My job is to get you both home safely." The drive back to Aspen was tense and silent. Lily dozed against Victoria's side, emotionally exhausted from the day's events. Victoria stroked the child's hair absently, her mind spinning with scenarios and contingency plans. Whatever had happened in Denver had clearly spooked Will enough to send armed security for them. The question was, who did he think posed a threat? When they arrived at the mansion, Will was waiting in the foyer, his face haggard with stress. He embraced Lily fiercely as soon as she ran to him, then extended an arm to include Victoria in the hug. The unexpected inclusion surprised her. "I've had Mrs. Garrett prepare Lily's favorite mac and cheese for dinner," Will said, forcing a smile for his daughter's benefit. "Why don't you go help her in the kitchen while I talk to Victoria?" Once Lily was safely out of earshot, Will's expression turned grave. He led Victoria to his study, closing the door firmly behind them. "Richard Harmon was shot today," he said without preamble. "During our meeting." Victoria widened her eyes in well-practiced shock. "My God, Will, are you all right? Were you hurt?" "I'm fine. Mason's team protected me." Will paced the room, agitation evident in every movement. "But Harmon is in critical condition. The doctors don't expect him to survive." "Who would do such a thing?" Victoria asked, perching on the edge of his desk. Will stopped pacing, fixing her with an intense stare. "That's what I've been asking myself. The timing is too convenient, just as Harmon was about to reveal who helped him separate me from Lily." Victoria felt her heart rate accelerate, but kept her expression concerned and attentive. What do you mean, helped him? According to Harmon, he didn't act alone. Will resumed his pacing. He claimed someone close to me was also involved in the plot to make me believe Lily was gone. Someone who benefited from my isolation and grief. Victoria's throat went dry. And you believe him? A man who admitted to such a terrible crime out of petty revenge. I don't know what to believe anymore. Will sank into his leather chair, suddenly looking exhausted. But I can't ignore the possibility. And now someone has tried to silence him permanently. Victoria moved behind him, placing her hands on his tense shoulders. Will, you've been through so much. First the accident, then Lily's miraculous return, and now this. Perhaps you should step back, let the authorities handle the investigation. Will reached up to cover one of her hands with his own. I can't. Not when Lily's safety might still be at risk. He turned to look up at her. I need to know I can trust the people around me, Victoria, that you and I are on the same side in this. Victoria met his gaze steadily. Of course we are. I admit I was less than welcoming when Lily first appeared. But surely you've seen how that's changed. She's a remarkable child, Will, and she's your daughter. That makes her family to me as well. Will studied her face, searching for any sign of deception. Victoria held her breath, forcing herself to maintain eye contact. After what seemed like an eternity, he nodded, apparently satisfied. I'm glad to hear that, he said softly, because I need your help, Victoria, to keep her safe, to uncover the truth. Anything, she promised, hating the guilt that twisted in her stomach. Later that evening, after Lily had been tucked into bed, Victoria slipped away to the guest house at the far end of the property. Originally built for visiting family, it now served as her personal retreat, a space where she could work on her interior design projects away from Will's scrutiny. Tonight, however, she had more urgent business. She dialed Harrison's number, pacing anxiously as she waited for him to answer. I presume you've spoken with your husband, Harrison said by way of greeting. Harmon told Will he had an accomplice, Victoria hissed. Someone close to Will who helped orchestrate the whole thing. He was about to name names when the shooting happened. Fortunate timing, Harrison observed dryly. Was it you? Did you arrange the shooting? Harrison's laugh was cold. Do you really want me to answer that question? Plausible deniability is a precious commodity, Victoria. She pressed a hand to her forehead, fighting a rising headache. This is spiraling out of control. Will is suspicious. He's convinced someone in his inner circle betrayed him. And yet he sent Mason to protect you and the child, Harrison pointed out. That suggests he doesn't suspect you. At least not seriously. For now, Victoria conceded. But what happens when he starts digging deeper? When he discovers the connection? What connection would that be? Harrison's tone turned cautious. Victoria lowered her voice, though she knew she was alone. That I was Rick Harmon's secretary before I met Will. That we stayed in touch even after I married Will. That might look suspicious, don't you think? Only if someone connects those dots for him, Harrison said. And the only people who could do that are you, me, and Harmon, one of whom is currently fighting for his life in intensive care. Victoria sank onto the sofa, suddenly bone-tired. I never wanted anyone to get hurt, especially not Lily. She was just a child. A child who stood to inherit everything that you've worked so hard to secure, Harrison reminded her. Don't go soft now, Victoria, not when we're so close to resolving this situation permanently. What do you mean? Victoria asked, alarm bells ringing in her mind. Just focus on being the supportive wife and stepmother, Harrison advised. Leave the rest to me. And Victoria, delete this call from your phone records just to be safe. The line went dead, leaving Victoria staring at her phone in growing horror. What had she set in motion? And more disturbingly, how far was Harrison willing to go to resolve the situation? In the main house, Will sat in Lily's darkened bedroom, watching his daughter sleep. Her peaceful face, so like Beth's, made his heart ache with love and fear. He gently brushed a strand of hair from her forehead, causing her to stir slightly. Daddy? She murmured sleepily. I'm here, Lilypad. Go back to sleep. Don't let the bad people take me away again, she whispered, already drifting back to sleep. Never, Will promised fiercely. I'll protect you with my life. As Lily settled back into deep slumber, Will's phone vibrated with a text from Mason. Hospital called. Harmon regained consciousness. Asking for you. Come now? Will looked down at his sleeping daughter, torn between staying to protect her and seizing what might be his only chance to learn the full truth. After a moment's hesitation, he texted back, "On my way." With a final glance at Lily, he slipped out of the room, unaware that Victoria had returned to the main house and was watching him from the shadows of the hallway. As his car pulled away from the mansion, she pulled out her phone and sent a brief text to Harrison. "Will left for the hospital. Harmon's awake." The response came seconds later. "Stay with the child. Don't leave the house." Victoria deleted both messages, then moved silently to Lily's room, easing the door open. The sight of the sleeping child stirred conflicting emotions within her, protectiveness warring with self-preservation. She entered the room and settled into the chair Will had vacated, her decision made. Whatever happened next, she would not let harm come to this child. Not again, not even to save herself. Denver Memorial Hospital's corridors were eerily quiet at 2 a.m. as Will strode toward the intensive care unit, Mason a step behind him. 2 police officers stood guard outside Harmon's room, evidence of both the attempt on his life and his status as a person of interest in a federal investigation. "Mr. Anderson," the senior officer acknowledged, checking Will's ID. "Detective Romano is waiting inside. 10 minutes max." Will nodded and entered the dimly lit room. The rhythmic beeping of monitors provided a steady soundtrack to the scene. Richard Harmon, once vibrant and commanding, now reduced to a pale figure tethered to machines. Detective Romano, a compact woman with shrewd eyes, rose from her chair beside the bed. "He's been drifting in and out," she explained in a low voice. "The doctors had to sedate him, but he was adamant about speaking with you, said it was a matter of life and death." Will approached the bed, steeling himself against the conflicting emotions that surged within him. Hatred for what this man had done, desperation to hear what he knew. "Rick," he said quietly, "it's Will. You wanted to see me?" Harmon's eyelids fluttered, then opened. Recognition and something like relief washed over his haggard features. "Will," he croaked, "you came." "You said there was more to tell," Will prompted, "about who helped you take Lily from me." Harmon licked his dry lips. "Water." Detective Romano held a straw to his mouth, allowing him a small sip. When she withdrew it, Harmon's eyes locked onto Will's with surprising intensity. "Victoria," he whispered. Will felt as though the floor had dropped away beneath him. "What about Victoria?" "She worked for me, before you." Harmon's breathing was labored, each word an effort. "I introduced you at that charity gala, remember?" Will did remember. He'd been in the depths of grief, making a rare public appearance at a fundraiser for children's hospitals. Victoria had approached him, expressed condolences for his loss, made him feel human again for the first time in months. "That was planned," Harmon continued. "She was my inside person. Keep tabs on you. Make sure you never investigate it too deeply." "You're lying," Will said, but doubt had already taken root. "Why would she do that?" "Money. Ambition." Harmon's mouth twisted in a pained approximation of a smile. "Prenuptial agreement. Very specific. Needed you. Without heirs." Will's mind raced, connecting dots he'd overlooked. Victoria's initial resistance to Lily's return, her insistence that the child might be an imposter, the prenup clause that Harrison had crafted, protecting Victoria only if there were no living heirs. "She wanted to make sure I never found Lily," Will said, the realization hitting him with physical force. "So she could inherit everything when your grief finally consumed you," Harmon finished for him. "She was patient, willing to wait, years if necessary." Detective Romano stepped closer. "Mr. Harmon, are you saying Victoria Anderson was complicit in the kidnapping and falsification of identity that separated Mr. Anderson from his daughter?" Harmon nodded weakly. "She arranged medical contacts, legal paperwork." "And the shooting today?" Will demanded. "Was that her doing too?" "Not directly," Harmon whispered. "But her lawyer, Harrison Palmer, dangerous man, very thorough." Will turned to Mason, who was already on his phone. "Get units to the house now. Lily's there with Victoria." "Already done," Mason confirmed. "Local police are 5 minutes out. Mrs. Garrett is with them in the main house." Will leaned closer to Harmon. "If you're lying about this..." No lie, Harmon insisted, his energy visibly fading. Check her private email. Password is Monarch55577. All the evidence, there. Detective Romano made notes, then addressed Will. We'll need formal statements, but there's enough here to bring Mrs. Anderson in for questioning. Will barely heard her, already moving toward the door. Mason, get the helicopter. We need to get back to Aspen now. As they rushed through the hospital corridors, Will's phone rang. Mrs. Garrett's number. William, the housekeeper's voice was tense. The police are here, but Victoria and Lily aren't in the house. Victoria left a note saying they went to the lake house to give you space. Should I tell the police to head there? Will felt his blood run cold. The lake house, a remote cabin on private property, accessible only by a single dirt road, with no neighbors for miles. Yes, he said urgently, and tell them to approach with caution. Victoria may be dangerous. 30 minutes later, as the helicopter cut through the night sky toward Aspen, Will stared at his phone, willing it to ring with news that Lily was safe. Mason sat across from him, coordinating with local law enforcement and his own security team. Police are 20 minutes from the lake house, Mason reported. Our team is closer, about 10 minutes out. But the storm's making conditions difficult. Will looked out the window at the dark clouds gathering around them. Can we still land? The pilot says it's going to be tight but doable. Mason hesitated. Will, there's something else. Harrison Palmer's car was spotted heading toward the lake house about an hour ago. Will's jaw tightened. Whatever they're planning, we need to get there first. At the lake house, Victoria paced the rustic living room, her nerves frayed to breaking point. Lily sat on the sofa wrapped in a blanket, watching her with those unnervingly perceptive blue eyes. Is Daddy coming here? She asked. Yes, sweetheart, Victoria assured her, checking her phone again. No messages. He just needed some time to think, that's all. You're scared, Lily observed. I can tell because you keep looking out the window and checking your phone. Victoria forced a smile. Just a bit anxious. It's silly, really. Is it because of the bad man? The one who tried to hurt Daddy? Victoria sat beside Lily, taking the child's small hands in hers. Lily, I need you to listen carefully. Some people might come here tonight, people who aren't friends. If they do, I want you to hide in the secret room behind the bookcase in the study. Do you remember it? Your father showed it to you last week. Lily nodded solemnly. The panic room, in case of emergencies. That's right. And this might be an emergency. Victoria squeezed Lily's hands. Promise me you'll go there if I tell you to, and you won't come out until your father comes for you himself. I promise, Lily said. But what about you? Aren't you coming with me? Before Victoria could answer, headlights swept across the front windows as a car pulled up the gravel driveway. Victoria moved to the window, peering through the curtains. Harrison's black Audi. Lily, go to the study now, she said urgently. Remember your promise. The child hesitated only briefly before hurrying to the study. Victoria waited until she heard the soft click of the bookcase sliding back into place before moving to the front door. She opened it just as Harrison was raising his hand to knock. You shouldn't be here, she said in a low voice. The police are looking for me. They probably know about you too. Harrison stepped inside, calm as ever in his tailored suit despite the late hour. Which is precisely why we need to expedite our contingency plan. Where's the child? Asleep upstairs, Victoria lied smoothly. What contingency plan? You never mentioned any plan beyond discrediting Harmon. Harrison moved to the bar cart, pouring himself a measure of scotch. Harmon regained consciousness. He's talking to the police and to your husband. It's only a matter of time before they put it all together. Victoria felt sick. Put what together? I never agreed to anything illegal. You said we were just creating documentation errors, making it impossible for Will to find Lily. A convenient interpretation, Harrison noted dryly. But the law will see it differently. Conspiracy, kidnapping, fraud. You're looking at decades in prison, Victoria. Unless we implement the final phase of our agreement. Which is what exactly? Victoria demanded, though she feared she already knew. Harrison sipped his scotch. A tragic accident. A distraught stepmother, overwhelmed by the sudden appearance of her husband's long-lost daughter, drives herself and the child into Lake Wakefield during a storm. By the time the bodies are recovered... Bodies? Victoria interrupted, horror washing over her. You're talking about murder-suicide. I never agreed to hurt Lily. What did you think the endgame was? Harrison asked coldly. The child's existence threatens everything you've worked for. 5 years of carefully laying groundwork, positioning yourself to inherit the Anderson fortune. With her alive, you get nothing. Victoria backed away from him. I won't do it. I can't harm that child. Your newfound maternal instinct is touching but ill-timed, Harrison said, setting down his glass. Fortunately, I anticipated your reluctance. That's why I'm here, to ensure the job is done properly. Victoria's hand moved to her pocket, where her phone was recording their conversation. And if I refuse to cooperate? Harrison's smile didn't reach his eyes. Then I'll have to manage without you, though I'd prefer to maintain the narrative we've constructed. He glanced toward the stairs. Where did you say the child was? You'll have to go through me to get to her, Victoria said, moving to block his path. Harrison sighed. I was afraid you might say that. He reached inside his jacket, extracting a small handgun. Don't make this more difficult than it needs to be, Victoria. Where is the girl? Before she could respond, the sound of approaching vehicles reached them, multiple engines moving fast up the gravel drive. You called them, Harrison realized, his expression hardening. You betrayed me. I'm trying to save that child, Victoria countered. And myself. It's over, Harrison. Harmon confessed everything. Harrison raised the gun. Then I have nothing to lose. The front door burst open as Mason's security team breached the house, shouting commands. Harrison turned, firing wildly. Victoria dove for cover behind the sofa as gunfire erupted in the small cabin. When the deafening noise ceased seconds later, Harrison lay motionless on the floor, the security team surrounding him with weapons drawn. Will rushed into the cabin, his eyes wild with fear. Lily, where's Lily? Victoria emerged shakily from behind the sofa. She's safe, in the panic room. She pointed toward the study. I made her hide when I saw Harrison arriving. Will stared at her, distrust warring with desperate hope. You protected her? Yes, Victoria said simply. I couldn't let him hurt her. Not again. Will moved swiftly to the study, calling Lily's name as he triggered the mechanism to open the hidden door. Victoria followed, maintaining a respectful distance, aware of the security team watching her every move. The bookcase slid aside to reveal Lily, curled in the corner of the small room, her eyes wide with fear that transformed into relief when she saw her father. Daddy, she cried, launching herself into his arms. Will held her tightly, tears streaming down his face. You're safe now, Lilypad. I've got you. Over Lily's shoulder, his eyes met Victoria's. You have a lot to explain, Victoria nodded, reaching into her pocket to retrieve her phone. I recorded everything Harrison said, and I'm prepared to confess my own role. All of it. Hours later, as dawn broke over the mountains, Victoria sat in the Aspen police station, having provided a full statement about her involvement with Harmon and Harrison. The conspiracy had been smaller than Will feared, but more calculated than he'd imagined. Victoria, placed in his path by Harmon, instructed to ensure he never recovered from his grief or searched too deeply for proof of Lily's fate. Harrison, the legal architect who constructed the prenuptial agreement with its specific clause about heirs, while simultaneously falsifying the adoption records that sent Lily into the system under a different name. What neither man had anticipated was Victoria developing genuine feelings for Will, or her ultimate inability to harm an innocent child, even to save herself. The prosecutor is willing to consider a reduced sentence in exchange for your cooperation, Detective Romano informed her, given that you protected the child and recorded Harrison's confession. Victoria nodded numbly. I'll cooperate fully, whatever it takes. The detective left her alone in the interview room. Minutes later, the door opened again, and Will entered, his expression unreadable. They're letting me speak with you briefly, he said, taking the seat across from her. Lily's with Mrs. Garrett. She's exhausted but unharmed. I'm glad, Victoria said softly. She's a remarkable child, Will. So much like you in her resilience, her capacity for love despite everything she's endured. Will studied her face. Why did you do it? Why did you agree to Harmon's scheme in the first place? Victoria looked down at her hands. The reasons seem so hollow now. Money, security, power. I came from nothing, Will. Worked my way up from a small-town trailer park to Harmon's executive assistant through sheer determination. When he suggested this plan presented you as my path to wealth and status, I convinced myself it was just business, just another step up the ladder. And later, when we were married? Victoria met his gaze. I told myself you were better off not knowing, that finding out Lily was alive would only reopen old wounds. But the truth is, I was protecting myself, my position, my future. She shook her head. It sounds monstrous now. Maybe I am a monster. Yet you saved her tonight, Will pointed out. You could have gone along with Harrison's plan. Instead, you put yourself between him and Lily. Because somewhere along the way, she stopped being an obstacle and became a child. A child who's suffered too much already. Victoria's voice broke. I couldn't add to that suffering, Will, not even to save myself. Will was silent for a long moment. I don't know if I can ever forgive you for your part in this, Victoria. 5 years of Lily's life, of my life with her, gone forever. I don't expect forgiveness, Victoria said quietly. Just the chance to make what amends I can. My testimony will ensure Harrison faces justice, and I'll accept whatever punishment the court deems appropriate for my role. Will stood to leave, then paused at the door. Lily asked about you. Wanted to know if you were okay. Victoria felt tears well in her eyes. What did you tell her? The truth, that you made some terrible mistakes, but in the end, you protected her when it mattered most. Will's expression softened slightly. Children have an amazing capacity for forgiveness, Victoria, far greater than adults. With that, he was gone, leaving Victoria alone with the weight of her actions and the faint, fragile hope of redemption. 1 year later, Will and Lily stood at the edge of Lake Wakefield, skipping stones across its glassy surface. The lake house, once a site of fear and violence, had been extensively renovated, transforming it into a peaceful weekend retreat where father and daughter could bond away from the demands of their busy lives. Lily, now 9, had flourished under Will's care and the support of a skilled child psychologist. Though she still occasionally woke from nightmares about her years in foster care, her resilience amazed everyone who knew her story. She'd chosen to keep both names, legally Lily Anderson, but sometimes still answering to Emma among new friends. Both names are part of who I am, she'd explained with wisdom beyond her years. Look, Daddy, 5 skips, she exclaimed as her stone danced across the water. Impressive, Will acknowledged with a smile. Your technique is definitely improving. Lily selected another flat stone from the pile they'd collected. Is Victoria coming today? Will nodded. Her supervised release allows for these visits, if you're still comfortable with them. Following her full cooperation with authorities, Victoria had received a reduced sentence, 3 years, with the last 18 months converted to supervised release with community service. She'd voluntarily surrendered all claims to Will's assets in their divorce settlement, and now worked with a non-profit organization helping children in the foster system. I like when she visits, Lily said thoughtfully. She's trying really hard to be a better person. Will marveled at his daughter's capacity for compassion. Yes, she is. A car approached up the gravel drive, Victoria's modest sedan a far cry from the luxury vehicles of her former life. Lily waved enthusiastically, then looked up at her father. People can change, can't they, Daddy? If they really want to? Will watched as Victoria parked and emerged from the car, her face lighting up at the sight of Lily. Gone were the designer clothes and perfect makeup, replaced by simple jeans and a sweater, her hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. The transformation went far deeper than appearance, reaching into the core of who she had become. Yes, Lilypad, he answered, squeezing his daughter's shoulder. I believe they can. As Victoria approached, carrying a board game she'd promised to teach Lily, Will reflected on the twisting path that had led them here, the tragedy that had nearly destroyed him, the cruel deception that had stolen years of his daughter's childhood, the unexpected redemption of the woman who had been part of that deception, and through it all the resilient spirit of a little girl who had found her way home against impossible odds, teaching all of them about forgiveness, second chances, and the healing power of love. Lily ran to meet Victoria, accepting the game with excitement. Can we play now? Daddy said he'd make hot chocolate. That sounds perfect, Victoria replied, her eyes meeting Will's over Lily's head, grateful, remorseful, hopeful. Will nodded in acknowledgement. Some wounds might never fully heal, but life moved forward regardless. And sometimes, if you were fortunate enough, it offered not just survival but renewal. Not just justice, but grace. Not just an ending, but a new beginning. As they walked together toward the lake house, Lily chattering happily between them, the setting sun cast long golden fingers across the water, illuminating their path home.